Well, hello there. I know a ton of you have been asking me this for ages, and let me tell you, today I am finally doing it. I'm going to be redesigning My Little Pony. But not just any, no, of course I had to make my favorite of them all. And if you couldn't guess already by my hair color, who's that gonna be? Of course, it's none other than the one and only Pinkie Pie. I do know, however, that Alex and Barb from Enchanterium got just as many requests to make My Little Pony dolls, so I wanted to make sure to do it first. I'm kidding. So we actually decided to collab on this to bring you guys some double My Little Pony action today. I will base my design on the Equestria girls, and just with my Monster High Redesigns, going to be redesigning her as a 16-inch ball-jointed doll from scratch. I commissioned my friend Blue Pixie to sculpt the cutest Pinkie Pie-est face for her, and she absolutely outdid herself and sculpted the cutest little face with little horse ears for her, which I will be using alongside my Nova doll body. So how about I just stop yapping and we finally start making the doll. Okay, so since my Pinkie Pie is going to be inspired by the Equestria girls, I want to give her a fantasy skin tone just like the Equestria girls. So we have to mix a nice strawberry milkshakey pink skin tone now. And for that I have some white resin and some neon pink, so I won't need as much pink. Let's see if we can do this. Super happy how the doll turned out. It is really difficult to get a nice pink shade when 3D printing because of the yellowing of the resin due to the UV exposure, but I think the shade turned out so adorable. So how about we start working on her by making her wig? Before I can even make it, I need to straighten this pink jumbo braid. I like using jumbo braids for doll hair as they are affordable and come in tons of colors. I then need to turn the hair into wefts with white PVA glue, and once they're dry, I can finally start with the actual wig. I made the wig cap already a day prior, so it was completely dry, and then basically just start at the bottom of the back of the head and glue on the first weft. I decided to curl each layer directly after gluing and applied some styling wax to it before using my small curling wand and curling the first strand. I started to curl the hair at first, but I made it work eventually. When the first layer was completely curled, I then proceed and first glue and then also curl the next layer. After curling each section, I like to gently separate the curls for a fluffier look. And basically, I now just continue the same steps until the back of the head is filled up. I also glued some wefts in the opposite direction on top so that I can then take these and put them together with a hair tie for a ponytail. Of course, a pony needs a ponytail, right? I'm kidding. I then proceed to glue the bangs, but sadly my SD card was full without me realizing, of course, so I don't have footage of styling the bangs, I'm sorry. But I basically just gave them a pointy tip and cute Hime side bangs. I still need to fill up the upper section of the wig and gave it a cute volume curl because I love how retro and cute it looks, and it's also a little homage to the 80s My Little Ponies. To hide the glue weft parts, I simply glue a folded weft on top of it and then just blend it into the bangs.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Oops, wrong transition. The wig looks really nice already, but I feel like the ponytail could be a bit fluffier, so I decided to glue the last wefts that I had around it. And last but not least, I also curl the ponytail. Since Pinkie Pie's ears are magnetic, I can just place them on top of the wig and they hold perfectly. Now it's just the accessories missing. I first glue a big ribbon as a hair tie onto the base of her ponytail, and then essentially just use tiny ribbons and beads as little hair ties to add to her fluffy curly hair. And with that, the wig is done. And I think this is one of my favorite wigs that I have ever made. And not just because it's pink. It's just so fluffy, and I really love the voluminous curl on top of her bangs and all the little hair decorations. I think it already screams Pinkie Pie so much, so I think we now have to paint her face. I am absolutely in love with this cute face sculpt, and I love the magnetic ears so much. As always, after spraying her with MSC, I add some sparkly shimmers onto her face to give the skin some glow, and then use soft pink pastels to shade her cheeks, chin, forehead and nose. With a smaller brush and a deeper pink shade, I add some blushing to her lips and can then start painting her eyes. I like to use brown pencils first to sketch out the initial shape of the eyeliner, and then need to mirror it manually to the other side. It's always much faster in the edited version. It doesn't take like an hour. I also decided to add a few upper drawn lashes to her eyeliner as well this time, and before using paint I will also sketch out her eyebrows with some pink pastel chalk dust. With a kneaded eraser I can shape them nicely. Afterwards she looks like this, and now I can go in with paint and line her eyeliner with black acrylic paint and a very small brush. I love how it makes the eye pop always. I also use some paint to paint, what else would I do with that? The inside of her mouth. First I paint the tongue pink and then add some dark red brown paint to the rest of the mouth. Lastly I paint her teeth white, and she's really starting to show some face, doesn't she? The next step is my favorite, painting the lower lashes. The most difficult part is to get the color consistency right, but once you got it, it's oddly therapeutic. After finishing the lashes, I then used some black pastel chalk dust to shade the lash line a little, and then I decided to give her a blue graphic eyeliner line. Pinkie Pie of course needs her cutie mark, so I decided to paint it on her cheek, and now need to also fill it in with some paint. To give her eyebrows some more definition, I paint some single hairs onto them as well. And you can see I also decided to give her a yellow eyeliner line as well. Before sealing her a final time, I make sure to add some sparkles to her cheeks, and once she has completely dried, I add some PVA glue, spread it on the inside of her upper lids, and then take these tiny lashes and carefully glue them to the eyes. 3D lashes are always so pretty, I think. The very last step is to use some Liquitex high gloss varnish to gloss her lips, and while she's drying I decided to make her eyes. I made these eye bases already and first paint them blue. Then I add a small black rhinestone for the pupil with a dot of UV resin, and then I can take some more UV resin, put a drop into each eye, spread it evenly, and then sprinkle some blue glitter on top of the eyes. I cure it with my small UV light, then drop another resin blob on top of the eyes and add a smaller star-shaped catch light and a tiny silver one to them. I cure them again, and with a final doming in the end, the eyes look like this, and they are honestly so pretty and sparkly. And here's also the finished and dried face. I also shaded Pinkie Pie's ears a little, as you can see, and added more sparkles, and now we can put her eyes and face together. Ooh, this has to be one of the cutest faces I have ever painted. I just love everything about it, but especially the colors and her absolute incredibly cute expression. Okay, so the hair and face are done, but you guys are probably wondering what I have planned for her outfit. I want to make my Pinkie Pie redesign inspired by Chinese yabi fashion, because I love how they combine all kinds of different aesthetics from like J fashion and Western fashion and just throw them together to make like highly personalized looks. So for my Pinkie Pie redesign, I will make her a cute top with a custom balloon animal print, plus ruffles and lace, a denim skirt with a bunch of ruffles and charms, some crazy layered asymmetrical leg warmers that almost look like hoofs, and underneath those she will wear some cute Lolita fashion like bubble platform heels. And I also want to give her a crocheted cardigan with 3D hearts on it, a little choker, and last but not least a very fitting cute little Eater bag. That is again a bunch of things to make for this outfit, so how about we start with her top. As said before, I wanted to give Pinkie Pie a custom printed fabric for for her top. So I fused freezer paper and cotton fabric together and then print a balloon animal print onto this combo with my laser cutter. It looks adorable and has the perfect size for a doll. To work with it, I just have to peel off the freezer paper and can then proceed to cut out the pattern pieces for the top. Before processing all my doll clothes, I make sure to fray check the edges so we won't have to deal with fraying fuss. I then have to let it dry, and once everything is prepped, I then take this tiny pink lace and first sew it onto both side seams of the front piece. Looks super cute afterwards, which means I can now take the side pieces and sew them on, finished sides in, and in the same fashion I then also add the back pieces, good sides in, and as you can see I also glued around the top and bottom seam allowance of the top already. I then add a cute little ruffle trim to the inside of the top part of the top and then just need to fold it towards the outside for a clean finish. I steam it in place and use glue if necessary. In the end, I also decided to glue a little lace on top of the inside and with that have an absolutely adorable little corsage top. I love the print and the decorations and just everything about it so much. The piece I'm most looking forward to make is Pinkie Pie's skirt. I cut and fray checked the pattern pieces already and first will glue around the pocket opening parts for the front of the skirt. To make them look cuter, I'm going to use the same lace as on the top and sew it along the pocket opening, and of course being out of focus because my cam apparently thought that my arm was more interesting to focus on. The lace does look great on the denim though, which means I can now place the pockets underneath and hem them in place with a couple stitches. I then also sew together the pieces alongside the front seam, good sides in, and make sure to steam the back side so it will be nice and flat. To make the skirt appear as if it can open in the front, I add a fake zip fly with some machine stitching. I then put the front part to the side, take the back pieces of the skirt and first sew the darts on them. Afterwards, I take all the pieces for the skirt and sew them together along the side seams, good sides in. For the bottom part of the skirt, I will use this layered lace ribbon that I found in my stash and ruffled it already, so I can now put another ruffle on top of it. It worked like a charm, which means I now just have to sew together the top denim part of the skirt with the big poofy ruffle. I then need to steam everything nicely again afterwards and end up with something like this. For the waistband, I cleaned up the top part of the pattern piece already by gluing it around and prepped these small belt loops by stitching onto very thin denim strips. I then glue them in place on the waistband and pulled some very dangerous maneuvers here. And once I was done, I just sew everything together. As you can see, I ended up splitting the waistband into two parts for the fake opening and then just have to glue the belt loops in place. I then added a tiny ribbon and a chain to the skirt and glue a small fake button to the front of it. For the other belt loop, I cut these katakana out of fabric vinyl which says Pinkie Pie and will now iron it to the organza ribbon. I attached it to the skirt and then found this cute heart in my stash that fit the whole vibe fantastically, so I just slapped it on as well. For a more personalized look, I 3D printed this little Twilight sparkle and want to turn it into a charm since Twilight is a very close friend of Pinkie Pie. Some might even argue she's her closest, and I just absolutely love their dynamic because they're like complete opposites. So I first turned this little 3D print into a charm by screwing a small charm loop into it and then simply have to paint it in her according colors, which is actually easier said than done because this little charm was tiny. She turned out absolutely adorable in the end though. I also printed a chili pepper to turn into a charm because, as we all know, Pinkie Pie likes hot sauce. So I simply need to paint the pepper as well and in the end have these two adorable little charms that I am now putting onto the chain of the skirt as well. In the end, I decided to remove the plastic charm that I added before because I felt it was too much and the finished skirt is just so pretty. I feel it looks really realistic and I absolutely wish I had this skirt in my size, not gonna lie. So for Pinkie Pie's cardigan, I really wanted to knit or crochet something. But the thing is, I can do a lot of things, but knitting and crocheting is not one of those. I don't know, my brain just can't comprehend how this works. But luckily, my mom is like the crocheting and knitting master, and she made this really, really cute little white cardigan for my Pinkie Pie and it looks so adorable. But of course, it is a little plain for her outfit, and you guys know we don't make plain clothing items here. So I guess it's time to bedazzle. The jacket is so adorable. My mom is truly a magician, and now I really just need to glue some 3D printed and painted hearts onto the jacket with some uwu glue. I did add a little closure to the jacket in the end, but I don't think I will actually going to be using it. But I did it anyways for good measures. I really love the look of the whole jacket with the 3D heart details. I'm a huge fan of these multiple layered insane leg warmers that a lot of people that wear yabi fashion wear, and I actually had to do a lot of planning in order to see how the layers would look good. So let's see if we can make these cool leg warmers work. Finished leg warmers and accessories look so cute. As you can see, I made the second one slightly different because a lot of times in yabi fashion they're not symmetrical, and I think a slightly more chaotic look fits Pinkie Pie just right. For Pinkie Pie's shoes, I asked Blue Pixie if she could sculpt some shoe bases that were inspired by these angelic, pretty bubble heels, and she did such an amazing job. I absolutely love how they came out. So I 3D printed them in clear resin and first need to cure them. And then I basically just have to paint them in a pretty vibrant pink. Unfortunately, the paint wasn't very opaque, so I needed like a million layers, but the shoes turned out so cute and I really love the look of that frosty bubble sole. And if I could afford them, I would really like to have the real deal, but I just make everything that I want to have in doll size. One of the last things that I wanted to make for Pinkie Pie was an Ita bag. I was thinking about what kind of Ita bag design I wanted to make, but then I was like, Pinkie Pie would probably really love Sanrio. So I decided to make a little My Melody inspired Ita bag. As I didn't have the correct colored pink fluff fabric though for this bag, I decided to take a piece of white fluff fabric and will dye it with acrylic paint water. I didn't know if this was gonna work, I just tried. And basically just mixed the pink of my choice with diluted acrylic paint and will now use the colored water to ink the fabric. I first spread it with a brush, but then just directly used the paint on the fabric and distribute it with my fingers. I then put it in the garden to dry and in the meantime already cut out the white parts for the bag with my laser cutter. Eventually the pink fabric dried as well, so I'll cut out the pattern pieces from it with my laser cutter as well, and then prep the face for My Melody by ironing some white fabric onto some fabric. By ironing some white fabric vinyl onto some fabric, then top it with the little face in dark brown, and lastly add the little tiny nose in yellow to it. Here are all the pieces for the bag, plus the Ita compartment vinyl and background fabric, and I now have to glue around the seam allowances of the face part for the bag first. Afterwards, I can glue the My Melody face behind it and add the little toilet seat ring on the bottom of it. I layer the vinyl for the Ita compartment with the background fabric and sew both parts together. I also sew the back part of the bag together, finished sides in, and can then take the front part of the bag and add these tiny little hands I cut from white pleather and then glue the Ita pouch underneath it. For My Melody's ears, I'm going to sew together these 4 earpieces and stuff them with a wire and fluff, and put them aside to prep the middle part of the bag by sewing some loops for the strap on it and gluing the 2 strips for the zipper onto the left and right side of the zipper. Then I can take the strip with the loops and will now merge it with the zipper part good sides in. I sew it with some paper underneath so that the sewing machine won't eat my fabric and end up with this loop. And before the time has finally come to sew the front, middle and back parts together, I just add the little ears for My Melody first like this and then sew the loop onto the front part good sides in and then also add the back part in the same fashion. I love how the Ita bag looks already, and now we just need to make a strap for it. I attach a little ring to each of the loops and then prep this beaded ribbon I bought a while ago to make the strap. I glue the ring with a tiny carabiner around both ends and then just need to hook it into the rings on the loops and have a cute little back strap. However, an Ita bag wouldn't be complete with some pins, right? So I printed these little tiny designs onto some cardboard and already cut them out. To make them look like acrylic pins, I simply add a bit of UV resin to them, spread it carefully with a toothpick, add some holographic glitter to them and cure them with my small UV light. I do that with all the pins and in the end they look like this, and I am obsessed. The only thing left to do now is putting the pins into the bag. I used a skewer to arrange them and also put a little bit of glue tack onto the backside of them so they won't slide around in the bag. I am absolutely in love with this bag and I'm so proud that I was able to make this really tiny bag look decent in the end. And just for a size reference, this is how small it is. Speaking of Ita bags though, I actually released 2 Ita bags that are available in my shop. One is an Ita doll carrier where you can take your favorite doll or ball jointed doll up to 16 inches along with you, and you can decide if you want to show her or if you want to use the Ita compartment to show off your favorite pins. So you can wear it as a doll carrier, an Ita bag, or both. I only have very few of these left, so if you want one, make sure to be fast. And I also just released this sparkly heart purse. I always wanted an Ita bag that is kind of like an evening purse, so I designed this. It's a transparent glittery acrylic bag that also has an Ita compartment for all of your small little trinkets. That is separate from the back part of the purse where you can put your valuables in. Everything closes with very strong magnets to make sure your stuff is secure, and it also comes with a shoulder strap chain. I ship worldwide directly from my studio, so if you're interested, check out my online shop. Link is in the description box. To make Pinkie Pie's choker, I modified a 3D file of a balloon and turned it into a 3-balloon cabochon, and will now paint the 3D printed cabochon in the colors of her cutie mark. I prepped this pink faux fur leather strap with a snap button in the back and then used some hot glue to glue the balloon cabochon onto the choker and also add a small fake snap button stud onto the back of it. So the doll is technically done, but I thought, what would Pinkie Pie be without her little pet Gummy? So I found a file online and I 3D printed this little fella and it's super cute. So how about we paint that real quick with a little painting montage. I really love the little derpy Gummy and all the little accessories for my Pinkie Pie. They just fit so well and will hopefully complete her look even more. And with this, the doll is actually technically done, but if you guys have watched my Monster High Redesigns, you know that I really like to make custom doll stands. So how about we make one for Pinkie Pie to finish off this really cute project. And with the doll stand done, I then can assemble Pinkie Pie for the very first time, and I was low-key speechless how cute she was. Okay guys, so I just put her together and she is so incredibly adorable, but I know you want to see her as well, so here is my Pinkie Pie.
Iいよ、別に。
Pinkie Pie. I honestly had such a blast making her. I think this was the most fun I had in a while in making a doll. And I really hope you enjoyed this video as well. Since this video doesn't have a sponsor though, I would really appreciate if you could share it with everyone you know who also loves My Little Pony or just cute dolls in general. Also, should I make more My Little Pony inspired dolls? Let me know in the comments below. Please also make sure to check out Enchantarium's Rainbow Dash. She is just so freaking cool. For my next project, I hope that you like sugar, spice, and everything nice. Alright, that's it for this video. See you guys soon. Bye!